going to show you how I made a protective cover for my Happy Planner using a Target OneSpot accordion file that I got for $1. I had found a few tutorials on YouTube and just by searching online that had some decent covers, but most of them had one style of the cover made out of the accordion file that covered the discs in a way to where basically when you opened up the cover, like your planner just kind of stuck in there. Like this wasn't really attached. I can't really explain it, but I didn't like it. It wasn't for me, so I wanted to make something different. This one has a top cover that I hole punched and stuck on there, and it has the elastic band. And then this is the back of the Happy Planner. So I'm trying to do this on my iPhone, and I don't have a tripod. But it's the back of the Happy Planner, and it just wraps around. This is actually the top of the accordion file, and it has like those little creases or whatever that help it fold. If you know, obviously if you've seen one of these accordion files. And then that just wraps around and covers up the loose ends where my tabs and stuff are for my months. So I'm going to show you how to make this. It's actually very, very easy. Hopefully I do a good job at explaining how to do this. So let's see. What you'll need is your cover for your Happy Planner. Just pop it off because you're going to use that as a sizing template. And then obviously your accordion file. I went ahead and ripped out the plastic inside. That's the little pockets or whatever you want to call them. And I just literally just rip them out, and it just leaves a little bit of gunk or plastic stuck to the edges, but you're going to cut that off anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now, this is a two-piece. There was, you know, I showed you there was a piece on the front, on the top of the Happy Planner, and then a piece on the back that wrapped around. So what we're going to do the back part first. It's the largest part. Lay down your, hoping you can see this, lay down your emptied out accordion file, and then you're going to have this piece that's the top that has the little button, or whatever you want to, like this little button guy, has him there. Lay it out flat and take your Happy Planner cover and place it in here. Now I have found that for the placement that I like, this crease, the very far crease that's closest to the edge, is the crease that I want to line the edge of my Happy Planner up with. Because what that does, and get it to go flat, is it wraps around just enough on the planner that it's, you know, I just think it looks better instead of this being all the way over here. Then really what are you going to do with the elastic band, because it's not going to have anything to grab onto because they're going to be right next to each other. So go ahead, line your cover up with that very last crease, and if you want to, you can take this by hand and fold it and really press that crease down so that it's really defined. Now I like my protective cover to hang over just a little bit. Grab my pencil. From the actual size of the Happy Planner. So what you want to do first, or you can do this any way you want, is I lay this down, again lined up with that crease, and I just make a little tiny mark on the top and the bottom with a pencil so that I can see where the top of the Happy Planner cover is and where the bottom is. And then I'm going to slide it up a little bit so that I can have that edge that hangs over. And then I just follow that, trace it, and make my line all the way across the top. Now, same for the bottom. We made that mark before, marking where the bottom of the planner cover is. Now slide it down a little bit to give yourself that hangover. Hangover. And then draw your line with a pencil. Really get it with this pencil. There we go. Now, leaving this lined up with that crease, you want to go ahead and come over here on the side that has the holes and just trace that all the way down so that everything's lined up. And I kind of started working on this before, but mine's really not super straight because it keeps sliding. And then you can connect your corners and kind of round them off to give you a guide, so that when you're cutting you can go ahead and round it if you don't have a, what is it, like a corner rounder punch? I don't have one of those. Okay, so now you basically at this point should have the back side of the cover that's going to be hole punched, and we'll go in and trace where the holes go in a little bit, and then the top and the bottom. And then I don't have a ruler, shame on me, so I'm going to use my cover as a ruler to extend these lines all the way out to the edge of the accordion file so that I can cut in a straight line. I'm not that good at cutting straight. And then if you want to here, you can mark to round off your edges so that it's not so pointy. Now we need to line it back up, the back edge that has the holes that we drew earlier. If you made those initial marks showing the top and the bottom of the actual cover, then try and line your cover back up with those initial marks. And then go over here to the holes, and I just mark where the holes are going to be so that I can punch them. And make sure that everything stays lined up. All right. So that's the biggest piece of our cover. And then what I do at this point, just so I have less on my workspace, is just cut this. Like, I'm not really cutting it out, I'm just... Sorry if that's loud. Okay, and we'll come back and cut this piece out in a minute. Now what we want to do is make the top part of our cover that's going to have the elastic band on it. I've seen some where if you don't mind, you can see it has creases here where it folds. But if you don't mind having those, it's completely fine to leave this where it is and then just take your measurements off of there and cut. But I don't like it. I want everything to be flat. So I'm just going to make new measurements. Flip it over to the back side so that when I use my pencil, I don't mark up the pretty side. And then I'm lining it up on this very last crease because that's already a straight line for me. And then once again, I make my initial little marks. That's the top of the planner on the cover, and that's the bottom of the cover. And then I'm going to slide it up a little bit to give some hang. Trace my line. And then go back down to the initial mark and slide it down just a bit. And try to trace my line. I ran out of desk. And at this point, I'm going to line everything back up, make a mark of where my holes will be punched. I apologize if you can't see this, but it's the same idea of what we just did on the bigger piece. Okay. Now, since this is the top part of your cover, it doesn't need to be as long or as, I guess, as wide as your actual cover, because you have that piece that's coming from the back and wrapping around is coming to like right here and maybe leaving an 1.5 inches, 2 inches of space. So you can really just kind of eyeball it and decide how wide you want it. I make mine probably about 3/4 of the way across. So what I'll do is I'll lay this down up against that crease again, and I'll just kind of make a mark. I want it to come down 3/4 of the way. And then again, I don't have a ruler, so I'm going to use my planner cover as a guideline to draw a straight line. And again, now would be a good time to draw in your rounded corners if you don't have a corner punch. And it's pretty much as simple as that. I'm going to spare you me cutting all of this out, and I'm going to show you on my one that's already hole punched how I hole punched it. Alright, so to hole punch this, when we made our initial little sketches and measurements and cut everything out, we made marks as to where all the holes were on our actual Happy Planner cover so that we can line everything up and it would fit. All I don't have a special arc punch or anything like that. I just have a standard single hole punch. And then what you want to do is you're going to find your little marks that you made. Go ahead, hole punch it all the way across. It takes a little bit of force with these to hole punch through this thick material of the accordion file, but it will go through. And then once you have your holes punched, all you have to do is take a pair of scissors and just make little tiny snips. I'm going to show you here. You just make little tiny snips so that it will go ahead and fit over the discs on the Happy Planner. Now this right here is actually the top piece of the planner cover. And like I said before, if you look at the original accordion file before you cut it out, this elastic band is actually on a fold or a crease, and I didn't like that, so I cut mine flat. All I did was I just kind of eyeballed it and found what would be centered as far as the holes to put the elastic band in. I just made little marks. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, you know, it's something that's just wrapping around the little button on the other side. I just made a little mark, took my hole punch, punched the holes, and then threaded the elastic band back through. And then we'll go ahead, let me pop this back on so I can show you something. Now with the elastic band and this button now being so close together, I actually had to take the band and tighten it. Oh my goodness, this is so hard to do on an iPhone. I had to tighten it just by double knotting it a little bit to make it shorter, but it won't slip through the holes that you punched, and you can't see it from the outside. That's pretty much it. So you would punch the holes in the top part. If you decided to do like I did, then you would have to go through and re-punch holes for the elastic band, and then shorten it so that you can get enough tension on it to hold everything together. And then on the back side, you would punch your holes, cut the slits with scissors, and then attach it. And that's that.